to be with you again today. I am the host of Wellness with EAC. This is the podcast where we talk about career wellness, and we talk about our faith journeys and how that intersects with our career, with our professional journeys, as well as our personal journeys. You'll probably feel a shift today. I am just recovering from who knows what, so my voice is coming in and out. But one thing about me in this season, I am going to be persistent. I am going to be consistent. So I wanted to show up. And honestly, I sound worse than I actually feel. Look at my background. I am at the beach. I am in a space where I'm relaxing. The sun is shining. So I'm going to show up. I'm going to talk to y'all, and I'm going to go enjoy the time after that to just rest and reset. So hang in there with me, because this message today, when I'm talking about wellness and the waiting, is exactly, I believe, the perfect episode for you if you're in a season of shifting, if you're in a season of waiting for something to come through, in your prayerful season, and you want to find out what's next. I want to give you some real-time examples of when waiting and waiting well has served me really, really well. And the reward that has come out of it has been something that was so much better than I could have imagined, because I waited. So I can't wait for you to hear the episode. Let's get into it. And also, I've missed these solo episodes, so I'm really, really glad to be here with you. Let's get into it. So one of the examples, when I graduated from graduate school, and I was trying to figure out what was next for me. Some of you may have heard bits and pieces of my story of how I almost failed out of grad school. And I actually co-authored a book, and my chapter is talking about that journey. And that book is coming out in a couple of weeks. And I can't wait for you to read it, because then you're going to be able to learn a little bit more about that journey and how tumultuous that journey of graduate school was. And after I graduated, I thought that things were going to be much better. I wanted to pursue a career. At that point, I knew it was going to be higher education. I had done my degree in business, but wanted to pursue my career in higher education, but with a sturdy degree in the background, because just in case, right, pivots happen, in case I wanted to change. So I wanted to pursue that higher education, but have a backup in case something changed after the fact. So anyway, I graduate, I'm looking for jobs, and it's just not what I'm looking for. I'm looking on higher ed jobs. I'm looking through my network. I am reaching out. I'm applying, but nothing is quite like what I've been looking for. Nothing is really appealing to me. I even went on some interviews. I traveled across a couple of states on the East Coast, even went to a job as far as Arizona, and it just wasn't a good fit. And so I thought, okay, so I've got this degree. I don't have a job. What am I going to do? And also, I'm ready to move out of my parents' house. I've been living independently. I want to continue on that path, but I have to pay my bills. So I ended up going through a temp agency and finding an administrative job. I don't always talk about this, but I think it's important that we talk about what happens in the gaps, what happens in the waiting. And I got that temp job working at an administrative role for this one firm. And it's in a male dominated industry. And so there were two other women that I worked with in that space, maybe three, but the majority, most of the leadership were men. And because of the male dominated industry, even if we're out in the field with other people who are working in other parts outside of the office for the company, you are working with a lot of men. And for the most part, it was okay. But there was this one gentleman who, no matter what I said, every morning I would greet him. Good morning, Mr. So and so. How are you? Have a good evening. And he would never speak to me, not utter a single word to me. And it was really interesting and a little bit uncomfortable, honestly, because you've probably come to learn from my personality by now that I am a pretty happy go lucky person. It takes a lot to really stir me or have me react adversely. However, I just kept pursuing. And my attitude never changed towards him. I continued to wish him a good morning, be respectful to my colleagues. I did what I needed to do. And I kid you not, when it was getting ready for me to leave, he was one of the people who had some really, really good things to say about me. His attitude had changed. He was greeting me back. So whatever was grieving him about me had shifted because he saw that my attitude didn't shift. And that's a nugget for anybody who is in a workplace that can be a little challenging, can be a little bit difficult. That workplace etiquette, knowing your values at the core and who you are, not doing it because it's going to change the other person, but doing it because it is going to display and demonstrate who you are and what your values are. I did my job. I learned things. I did things that in my mind, I thought, oh my goodness, I have a master's level degree, and I am tolerating this. I have a master's level degree and this is happening. But I humbled myself and I said, what is the background that I come from? What has my mother taught me about working with other people? What has she told me? Kill them with kindness. Really coat that with kindness. And that's what I did. And I learned everything. And 6 months later, I'm on that job, getting ready to renew that contract just in case nothing else comes up for me. And then I get a call from somebody I had met maybe, I don't know, 8 to 12 months before. And that person said to me, hey, I remember you from a time that we met. And I have this job that is opening in my office. And I just wanted to know if you would be interested in it. So I'm thinking to myself, wow, this job opportunity, could it really be? Is it really real? Because honestly, that job was a dream. Remember when I had been searching for jobs in higher education, trying to figure out maybe I could work my way? That job was coming to me. That job was coming unprompted because in a different season, I had been a good steward of my gifts. I had been just doing what I needed to do and supporting a person I had encountered and simply being able to show them around, connect with them, really just be a resource in that season with no expectation in return. And that person remembered that and reached out to me. And that's when I saw the power of networking take place in real time. So this was 8 months, right? Let's just establish that time frame. 8 months or so after I'd met this person. And all of a sudden, this interview application is coming. I mean, this application is coming. I hurry up, I complete it. Um, I let the person know that I've done it. And then shortly after, I hear from HR, they want to do an interview. I do a phone interview. That goes really well. I'm getting really excited. This could be the opportunity for me not to renew this role I'm currently in. So I go ahead and do that. And after that part was done, they invited me for an in-person interview. If anybody's worked in higher education or just in general, right? You know, this is part of what happens. So I go up to Pittsburgh, which is where the interview was. And I was so excited just being in the environment, being on the campus, meeting that person again, meeting their team. And I go through a series of interviews and I feel really good about them. I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be. And let me tell you something, because while in the waiting, they had opened up that role before. They had opened up that role, went through a series of interviews, and it had not worked. Why? Because they were waiting for me. They didn't even know they were waiting for me, but they were waiting for me because while I was getting this other experience that I could talk about, while I could reflect on the experience that I had supporting some of the graduate program in my MBA program, supporting the office there, I had gained that experience I could now talk about in that interview. And so when I heard that that role had been open twice, and that's when I was now going through the interview process. And guess what? Shortly after, I got the call that my dream job, the job that would start my career, the job that would help me ultimately travel the world, make a difference in the lives of students who looked like me, came from backgrounds similar to me and all around me, that I could help instill confidence in the next steps of their journeys, the job that would help me get comfortable interviewing vice president level folks to new graduates like me. The job that would allow me to learn how to be confident and comfortable in basics like my first international travel around the country, network and meet other folks. The job that would help me connect with hundreds of minds, if not thousands of minds across the world, digitally and in person, was now mine. That door had opened because I waited, and I waited well. I made something in that time. I used that experience and converted it. And that wellness in the waiting paid off in that first role. And it taught me you continue to work, you continue to connect, you continue to use kindness. Let's go to the next example. And this is something that happened about maybe year two of my business, so not too long ago. So I had been pursuing a contract at a large university because that is my ideal client. I want to get in front of their students. I want to bring in career wellness programming. I want to help instill confidence in those students when they're thinking about fulfilling careers and higher education. We're talking about mental health, their financial literacy. We're talking about professional development, right? And supporting their teams while we're doing that. And so, as I'm pursuing these contracts, as I am pursuing what's next, I connected with someone from that university. And I kid you not, for the next 8 months, we played tag. We would talk, we would come up with a plan, we would schedule something, and something would happen on her end. Something would happen on my end. And we went back and forth, back and forth. And then after a little while, I'm continuing to pursue. And then she just went quiet, completely quiet. I mean, ghost, crickets, whatever you want to call it. She just went completely quiet. And I did not hear from her anymore. And I was thinking to myself, wow, but this is a dream right here. This is where I could be. And so I started to confer with myself and just say, okay, you know what? Maybe this just isn't meant for me right now. Maybe I'm supposed to pursue some other things. Maybe, actually, honestly, if I'm being real, that little bit of the mindset, I guess we can call it a little bit of imposter syndrome, was coming in my mind and saying, but who do you think you are anyway to be tied to this large university? You're just a small business. I wasn't thinking of all my decade plus experience. I wasn't thinking about the hundreds of folks I'd connected with. I wasn't thinking about this powerful curriculum I had. It was just that little thought in my head. So after a few follow ups and not hearing anything, I didn't want to be a bugaboo. I just let it go. Fast forward to that summer. Yeah, it was that summer. I was connecting with a colleague of mine. And she was saying, well, how can I support you? And I shared with her some of the things that I needed and this dream client I could have, not that university in particular, but just the type of clients I was looking for. And she said, you know what? I know somebody. Let me make an introduction for you. Lo and behold, it was somebody at that university in a different department, in a different space. And when I tell you it was even more fitting than the woman I'd spoken with before, it was divine. It was absolutely divine. Because again, I had to wait. I pursued, I did all the things that the business books tell you to do. And I pursued in that waiting. And guess what happened? It didn't work out then, but in the perfect timing, I was introduced to the person that was in charge of that department. This was maybe, I don't know, on a Monday or something like that. Within a week, within a few days, they had my proposal. A few days after that, they had reviewed it. And then within 2 weeks, I had a yes. We were signing a contract. And a few weeks after that, I was starting the work. I had my team of contractors scheduled to come in. Our program, our career wellness program, was kicking off in a major way at a major institution. And honestly, that networking, first of all, it could only have been God because he knew when that timing was going to be perfect. And he orchestrated the right pieces of the puzzle that that conversation would drop with that one person on one side. And then the conversation with this client at that same space would happen in that moment. I couldn't have orchestrated it better. The experience going on from there was nothing I could have ever imagined. And the results from it, the confidence from it, the impact from it, the relationships built from it, I'm still grateful because those are conversations that are continuing to happen. So that was another example of the wellness in the waiting, of what happens when that it feels like rejection, but it's actually redirection. Now, my last example. Right before this podcast launched, I submitted an application to be coached by the one and only Jenna Kutcher. If you've never heard of her, she is this incredible, incredible marketing expert. She is a business guru. She is a mom. She is someone who I really admire in business. She was able to turn a $300 camera into a seven-figure business, and she's able to stay at home. She's able to work from home. She's building her seven-figure empire. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to eight figures soon. If you've never heard of the Gold Digger podcast, that is her. She was an inspiration to me as I was starting my business. So when I saw the application to apply to be coached by her and be a guest on her show, which was on my dream and goal board, I never thought that this would happen for me. But I thought, why not? So I applied to be a guest. There was a couple hundred, over almost 200 people that I saw that applied for that opportunity. There were probably a few hundred people, well, close to about 200 people that applied in the stage that I did because I could see you. it wasn't a formal application process. You had to submit a little bit of your story, and the team would look and see if it would be a good fit. So I submitted, and then I just waited. I thought, you know what? I'm going to try it. Who knows if it happens or not? I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. But I'm going to miss 100% of the shots I don't take. So I'm going to take that shot. I waited for a month, maybe two. Then I get a comment on that post saying, check your DMs. I check my DMs. Someone who looks like they may be from her team reaches out to me and said, hey, we loved your story. We'd love to feature you on the show. And I said, oh my goodness, this is really happening. This is really happening. So I reach back out to the person. I'm so excited. And then I don't hear from them. Again, another couple of weeks of waiting. And I'm like, oh, it's such a big company. Maybe it was spam. Maybe this was somebody trying to play games with me. So again, I just leave it, see whatever happens. Then all of a sudden I get an email. Hey, we got your note. So excited. This is the day we'd like to record your episode. Are you available? And that's when it became real, because I'd given them my email. It came into my email. The email address looked legit. Everything about it looked legit. I looked up the person, and there it was. This dream I had had a year or two before, as I was starting my business, was actually coming to life. And y'all, meeting Jenna, finally getting to the recording spot, meeting Jenna was, one, a dream come true, but two, I think the humanity in her, the just real conversation that we were talking from human to human, from mom to mom, that whole big, okay, she's a 7-figure business owner, she's this. I had that all in respect. But if there's one thing I'm also learning is it's important to talk to people as humans. Don't put people on a pedestal. That's God's place. Talk to people as humans. Be yourself, be your personality. And the way she encouraged me, she didn't know me from Adam. I was a complete stranger to her. But the way she welcomed me on her show, on and off air, the way she encouraged me, the way she just made the interview as calm as possible, as enjoyable as possible. We even went over time a little bit just because we were enjoying the conversation so much, inspired me that I finally needed to heed to that call from God and record this episode, heed to that call and just go ahead and do what I needed to do. And this podcast was officially launched in the midst of that. And let me tell you, the key thing, when I had being a guest on the show as a dream, I thought I had to be a certain position. I thought I was going to get to a certain position first. And that did not happen. When I thought I was going to be on that podcast, I actually wasn't ready. I was not ready at all in terms of my offering, in terms of what I knew about myself as my business. I had not gone through a pivot yet in my business. I had not had enough of my dream clients and learning in order to make it worth it. Even though it was a coaching episode, there were still some things I needed to speak about for people who are going to listen to that episode. And when it finally did happen, the timing was perfect. The timing was divine. And in that waiting of almost 2 years, and then in that waiting of 2 to 3 months after I applied, when the opportunity arose, it was divine timing. It was perfect timing. So then when I went to be a guest, I was so confident. I was beyond ready. I was prepared. And I left there with nothing that I felt like I could have added. It felt that good because the timing was where it needed to be. So, dear listener, if you're in a space of waiting, I want to encourage you not to just sit and wait. If you're a prayerful person, if you're a person of faith, and you're just saying, God, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait on you. What I believe waiting is not just sitting idle. You're going to try something. You're going to do something in your natural and let him work in the supernatural. Because I don't believe that every opportunity that I got with that university, with that dream job, with this dream podcast was something that I could have orchestrated, but I needed to take the steps. How was I going to expect God to work in that space when I did not take the first step, when I didn't apply, when I didn't just, you know, connect with people? How was his favor going to locate me when I wasn't doing some part? I still need to do some part because faith without works is dead. So I just want to encourage you that in the waiting, wait well. It's going to be hard. It's going to take some time. Sometimes you might have a 24-hour miracle. I've experienced that actually recently. That'll be another time that I'll talk about that. But the lessons I've learned from waiting is that God is not man that he should lie. That whatever he orchestrated for me is going to work. And that even in the waiting, all things are going to work together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And is a blessing in the redirection. So I don't want you to be discouraged. If you're holding on to something, lift it up, send those prayers up, and then go do the work. If you think it's supposed to be a course you're recording, if it's supposed to be a pivot in your career, if it's supposed to be a new opportunity that you're looking for, go ahead and pursue it. Take that step. And once you have taken that step, then the rest will continue to work. The supernatural will come in that. But do your part. And if it's a no completely, then that just means it wasn't going to be good for you in the end. And trust that. Trust that in that redirection, that it wasn't meant to be for that season. But something even better is coming. I solely believe it. And my life is a testimony of that. Okay, well, I am so glad you tuned in. I didn't even think I would be around for this long. Thank you for just hanging out with me in between my voice going in and out. But I feel so strengthened and encouraged. And I hope that you also feel strengthened and encouraged today. And for the days going forward. And when you're not, just come back and listen to this episode and be encouraged in the waiting. Until next Wednesday, I'm so excited that you tuned in. Take care, be well. And no matter what, just remember, you are worthy. You are cared for. You are more than just your circumstance. And I'm so excited to be on this journey with you.